Hey everybody, it's Dr. Bam. I wanted to go over a couple things that are up in the next unit that kind of can trick some students up, and that I just want to make sure are on your radar and that you have the pieces you need for it. So the first one is the field work unit 567. And this one is the one where you have to go to a school board meeting. So you must attend a school board meeting, and you can do it in a variety of ways. You can attend it virtually, you can attend it in person, or you can watch a recording. So I've listed the districts down here on the left. Midlothian, Fort Worth, Mansfield, and Waco. Those ones tend to have recordings, tend to broadcast their school board meetings live, and so you have the opportunity to go watch them. If you're watching them, you're giving me the link with the date that you watched, so I can go back and look at it if I want. If you're attending in person, you need to have someone there sign it. It doesn't matter. It can be the police officer, anyone that can just attest that you were there. That's all that they're doing. They're not signing off anything special. You can get up to 5 hours in this manner of your 16, so a good portion of your hours can be done in this way. And the only thing for the recordings is that it must have occurred within this semester. So you can't go back to last school year and look at those. So it must have occurred after August 22nd and up until November 28th, because that's when this assignment is due. So it has to be a recording from that period of time. Smaller districts, you may need to do multiple sessions, because they might not go that long, to get yourself the 5 topics that are required. And just wanted to make sure people have it on their radar. Okay, so the next one that I want to go to is in Unit 6. Okay, so for Unit 6, our knowledge application assignment here, taking a second to come up, can cause trouble, can kind of throw people off. So I'm going to break it down like if you were in class, like what I would tell my class they're doing. So first, you're looking to list the TEK, including its location, in the word-for-word description of the TEK. You're going to find the TEKs down here, okay? So you can link to the TEKs. I'm probably going to have to click here because Schoology's been weird lately. And then down here are the TEKs, okay? My advice is always to stick with elementary for this assignment, even if you want to teach the upper grades, because this is just showing that you can break down the TEK. When you get in the upper grades, the TEKs get more complicated. There's more pieces of them. There's more things that you have to cover to make sure that you're covering all the pieces of the TEK. Where in elementary, they can get a little more on the simplistic side, a little more direct to cover. So the point of this isn't to cover the content that you're covering, but to show that you know how to break down the TEK. So make sure you go back to Unit 5 and look at that breaking down of the TEK video, looking at the verbs, all of that. That you know how to break down the TEK, and that you can come up with activities and assessments that demonstrate that the students are learning that TEK. So I would stick possibly to the 4 main areas: ELR, math, science, and social studies. If you wanted to explore outside of these, health education and fine arts is good, but I wouldn't go into career and technology and all of that for the elementary. But really, the strongest way to do it is to stick with the ELR, math, science, and social studies. Okay, so once you've chosen, you're just going to go into the TEK subject of your choice. So for me, I'm going to choose mathematics. You can do the web or the PDF. I like the web preferred, but it doesn't matter which one. Then you're going to choose elementary and your grade level, grade 1K through 5. So I often get asked, why is pre-K not on there? That's because pre-K does not follow the TEKs. They follow the pre-K guidelines, the Texas pre-K guidelines, which is a completely different set of documents that we don't really get into in this. But if you're interested in pre-K, I encourage you to go check them out, the pre-K guidelines. Okay, we're going to choose grade 2. Now, every area like this will have this A, introduction. And you are not going to discuss the introduction. This covers everything that is in the TEKs, what they're thinking about, all of the pieces of it, and is not a TEK itself, okay? It's just an introduction to the TEKs. So what you want to come down here is find the knowledge and skills, okay? The little b. Everything after the little b is the TEKs. It's the knowledge and skills needed in that grade level for that subject matter. you're going to choose one TEK. So for this first one, we have TEK 1A, we have TEK 1B, we have TEK 1C, okay? That's how you list the TEK. So going back, and I need to move this little thing here. I can't move back. Going back, how you list the location is I would list 111.4 for grade 2, that represents grade 2 math, 111.4. And then if I was going to do TEK, I put point little b, okay, so it tells me I'm going down to little b, I'm not doing the introduction. And then I would do 1A, for example. Then my TEK would read, mathematical process standards. The students use mathematical process to acquire and demonstrate mathematical understanding. The student is expected to apply mathematics to problem solving arising in everyday life, society, and the workplace. That would be the TEK that I'm talking about for this assignment, for example. I then have to identify my verbs, like they did in the breaking down of the TEK, to acquire, demonstrate. You don't have to worry about this expected to, but then apply, and then mathematics to problems arising in everyday life, society, and workplace. So that is identifying the location and writing out the TEK. So when we go back to this Unit 6 assignment, that's number 1, right? Is to look at the location and give the word-for-word description. So number 2 is using the specific skills, one by one taught, that should be fully taught fully to teach this TEK, right? So the verbs. So when I look at it, they must acquire mathematical understanding in order to apply mathematics, right? They must acquire mathematical understanding. They must demonstrate mathematical understanding, and they must apply mathematics to problems arising in life, society, and workplace. Now, I personally would not choose this TEK for this assignment. Why? It is so broad. It's a great example of one I would not choose, because it's really hard to show how they're doing it in everyday life, society, and workplace. And you would have to show that. How are they applying mathematics to everyday life? How are they applying mathematics to society? How are they applying mathematics to the workplace? It'd be really difficult. Now, if you come down to number 2, right? The student applies mathematical standards to understand how to represent whole numbers, the relative position and magnitude of the whole number, and the relationship within the enumeration system related to the place value. And the student is expected to use standard word and expanded form to represent numbers to 1200. Okay, now they have to use standard form to represent numbers up to 1200, use word form to represent numbers up to 1200, use expanded form, right? And they also have to do the top part, which is to process the standards, right? But in this case, they're processing these concepts. And so when you write it out, it's all of this, but when you're planning your lesson, it's really focusing on this piece here, right? That they're going to do those 3 things. And so you have to plan your lesson to make sure that they are using standard word and expanded form, and that they are representing it to 1200. And what would you do? How would you build that skill? How would you have them do that? And then really for this one, you would be telling us how you would evaluate each piece of it, okay? Not just the single piece of it. Okay, so we are now back at the unit knowledge application assignment. So that you now listed it, you've told me what they have to know and what has to be taught in that verb. Then you're just going to discuss. Don't give me a whole lesson plan, don't give me the materials list, all those things. I just want you to give me the activities that you would do to meet that skill. And it shouldn't just be, I'm going to give them a worksheet, right? No, you're going to have to teach them, you know. We say, we do, you do, I do, right? So, or I do, we do, you do. So I do it, I show you how to do it in the lecture, or however you're going to present it. We do it together as a class, and then you do it independently. So that worksheet might be your assessment, not your evaluation, not your lesson piece of it. And let's actually figure out how are we going to teach these lessons. So you don't want to just teach them like by lecture, right? For the most part, you want them to do an activity, do something that's going to build, and so where they can construct that knowledge and demonstrate that and how you develop that skill. And then after you list the skills, you discuss and describe the ways that you're going to teach each of the skills. Each piece of the skills has to get addressed. Then you're going to discuss and describe how you would assess the students, that students have met them. What assessment are you going to do? You need to include both informally what you're going to do, informally. How are you going to say, yes, check it off on their report card, they have achieved this TEAC, right? So how are you going to know along the way that, and be assessing them that way, and then how are you going to assess them formally to make sure that they have achieved it? Don't just say, oh, I'm going to give them a quiz. How are you going to give them a quiz? What's the quiz going to look like? What's it going to be? Right? Is it multiple choice? Is it open book? Is it what? Like, how would you actually do it? You need to tell me word for word. And that is the whole assignment. You can do this by PowerPoint or a video. So I've had people who just talk it and break it down, and then people who submit me a PowerPoint and do it slide by slide. So those are your two choices of how to present this assignment. Okay, I then want to take a quick second to talk about final project things. So your unit 6 and 7 final project stuff is just discussing with me how you are going to finish your project. Okay, that's it. It's not finding new material, not finding out things. This first part, remember to gain points for this assignment, this bold part right here, you will need to submit a statement of what you will do to cover over the next several weeks to complete the project. That's all you do, is making a timeline of what you will look like to complete it. Then on week 7, I give you one last check-in, right? You can do me one last check of the goals. Where are you at? Are you almost done? Is there anything you still need to complete? It's just to keep your mind on that final project. Your final project is essentially your final. There is no other final. There's no test. There's no, well, there's the field log. We'll talk about that in a second as well. But there is the final project pieces. Okay, make sure you have reviewed these and how they break down. They're pretty self-explanatory. We've been going along this all the way. Make sure you look at the rubric and everything that I'm grading. So job posting 1, job posting 2, salaries and benefits 1, salaries and benefits 2. This is the biggest place people will lose points because they do one place and they don't do a second place. You have to have the degree plan, but it doesn't have to be in your PowerPoint. And the biggest piece for you guys is you must do a PowerPoint and a video. So you must video yourself giving the PowerPoint. If there is interest, and you guys need to let me know if there is interest, I will also set up 1 or 2 Zoom sessions where people can come and present live on Zoom to myself and whoever's present from your class, if you would prefer to do it that way. Okay, and the last piece that I want to go over, sorry I keep pausing so I can save a little time in between things, is the field log. There's 2 points to this. The 50-point reflection, which is just discussing the things that you saw and what you think, and that is 50 points. There are 0 points listed to part 2, which is the submission of your 16-hour field log. This doesn't have points, but you lose points, so this confuses students sometimes. So if you turn in 10 hours and you're losing 6 hours, you lose 6 times 15, okay, which is 90 points. And so you lose 90 points. It's a minus 90. If you didn't do the reflection, it's you'll have a negative 90. If you did the reflection, you'll have a negative 40. And so if you didn't do those 6 hours. So while the 16 hours don't gain you points, it will subtract you points from your grade. It's a 1,000-point course. So 1,900 to 1,000 is an A, right? Actually, 895 to 1,000 is an A. And so losing 90 points losing all your field hours drops you to an automatic B or C, depending on how you've done with the rest of your course material. Okay, that wraps up this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Email me or reply to this update, and I will try to make sure I get back and answer any questions. If it's a general question, reply to the update. If it's a personal question, reply to email. If you want to do a Zoom, send it by email. Actually, either would be fine, because if there's interest, I'll try to figure out some dates that I can set for people to Zoom if they prefer to do it that way. Have a great week. Have a great last couple weeks of the semesters, and I'll talk to you later.